My name is Joe Rella. I'm the superintendent of Comsewogue Schools. That's in Port Jeff Station in the Far East. Thank you for the invitation to speak here tonight, and I'm certainly honored to be speaking on the panel with Jeanette Gutterman, Marla Kilfoyle, Yvonne Gasparino. These are fierce advocates for students, for parents, and for teachers. You know, special interests. Things haven't been going so well with public forums, so I'd like to just get a couple of ground rules straight first. No matter what you say to me, I'm not running away, and there will be more forums after this, no matter what happens tonight. Back in the summer, the scores were released for the grades 3 through 8 ELA and math assessments. And as we're all aware, they showed that about 30% of the students in New York State passed, 70% failed. And this had been predicted months before, and months before any child sat down to take the test. We had learned back in January, actually December of 2012, that the expectation was that not more than about a third of the students in the state would pass them. Well, since then, now the State Education Department has put a lot of information out about the value of these results. They've set a new baseline. They raised the bar. They increased rigor. Our students now, finally, have a chance to be college and career ready. How many people here went to school in New York State? Pretty good education we got, what do you think? Okay. I think we were ready, college and careers. But now they really were going to be college and career. At the same time that this was going on, all this rhetoric was spilling out, the outrage of parents and educators has been growing exponentially every day. It is becoming more and more organized. I believe it's unstoppable. The outrage has nothing to do with the curriculum, the metrics of the tests, where the passing scores, bell curves. It springs from something much more basic and much more serious. The Common Core Initiative is hurting our children. And that was it for me. We can debate everything else. Children across the state are experiencing increased levels of anxiety. Little kids, stress, behavioral problems, sleep deprivation, respiratory issues, and in worst cases, self-abusive and self-destructive behaviors. Children are experiencing this. These behaviors are becoming more and more pervasive, and they are occurring among younger and younger children. We're located right near 3 major hospitals, Mather Hospital, St. Charles, and Stony Brook. And we have people in our district who work in the hospitals, nurses, doctors. And they've been speaking to me about seeing these kind of issues on the rise with young children. I talked to a psychologist whose practice is basically with adults and older adolescents. Now 8 and 9-year-olds, she can't fit them all in. Now I'm sure we're going to hear that there's no proven connection between the Common Core curriculum and testing and what our children are experiencing. But do we have to sacrifice a generation of students to prove that there is a correlation? No, we don't. We can't. I'm starting to hear the term Common Core disorder being used more and more frequently because the symptoms and the behaviors are very similar. Community to community, Third grader, fifth grader, seventh grader, eighth, doesn't matter. Same kind of things are happening to kids. The tests are hurting our children, that's the issue. Now keep that in mind for a second. It's never been talked about. When I say not talked about, the State Education Department in all their meetings, in all their press releases, certainly not on any forums, it's never been addressed. It's never even been acknowledged as a possibility. This is better for kids. Really. It hasn't even been met with contempt, like, you're crazy. You're wrong. Nothing. The proponents of this initiative have flooded the media with a tidal wave of rhetoric about the benefits, but not word one has been spoken about the devastating effect on our children. And our most vulnerable children are being hurt the most. The special education students, the students where English is not their first language. It's disaster for them. Now, going back to the test for a second, any test that's designed to have 70% of the students taking it fail is abusive. It's not just incorrect, it's abusive. If I did that, CPS should drag me out of my office. Students, young students, are discouraged. They doubt themselves. They don't like coming to school. This is a lesson they're learning daily, and it's a bad lesson. They will never get this time back. Our rich curriculum has been narrowed down to 2 subjects, ELA and math. There's no time for much else. And this hasn't been done by educators, it's been done by amateurs. And our children have become guinea pigs in a horrible, horrible experiment. That's what this is really happening. Bill Gates said at one point, "You hope this works." 2 things I'd like you to remember and think about. The first, please remember while we're sitting here tonight, there are students at home that are trying to struggle through homework. They don't understand. Their parents don't understand. Their teachers are having trouble understanding. That, in addition to the test prep and all the things that are getting them ready for the only thing that matters in the whole school year, a couple of days in April. That's it. Nothing else matters. That's the central act of our school year now. They're doing hours of homework. They're in classrooms across the state being pounded by this every day. You've heard the expression, if we just ignore him, he'll go away. That's exactly where we're being treated. If they ignore us, we'll go away. No, we won't. We can't. The second thing, and it's been on my mind for a while, is an assumption. Let's assume that everything we've experienced with the Common Core, the way it's been implemented, the curriculum, the testing, all of it, is wrong. Let's assume that the Common Core is perfect. Everything about it. That it's the best thing that happened to public education anywhere at any time. Got that in your head? Now think about the devastating effects it's having. The destructive effects on our students, on their mental and physical health, on their self-concept and self-definition, on their families, on our teachers and administrators and their families. Given these destructive effects, even if it were perfect, it has to go. Even if it were perfect. And it's not perfect. So here we are. A couple of months already have blown by. Not much is happening at all. There has been action on the part of the State Education Department. They've canceled all public forums concerning the Common Core and replaced them with invitation-only events. I don't know how you can have a public invitation-only event. I don't know. They're about to unveil a new set of meetings. So I'm told this takes a lot of time, apparently. How about just saying, we're having a meeting. We want to hear about your experiences with the Common Core. All are welcome. And shortly, they will be publishing the invalid scores of our teachers and principals to humiliate and embarrass them. But more importantly, to distract us. Let's concentrate on that. No, don't. Children are being hurt by this. They are no longer even making believe that they care about what parents and teachers think. We are a special interest group. They're right. They're right. All of our children are special, and we are very interested in them. But even that has been twisted as if there's something wrong with being that kind of special interest group. We can debate and discuss and dialogue just about everything to do with the Common Core. The point at which the debate ends is when it hurts children. There's nothing to talk about. Refusing to hear what we have to say will not take it away, and ignoring us will not make us go away. It has to stop now.
Yes.
Don't be distracted or bullied into giving up. Don't ever think that anyone knows your child better than you do. And make the right decision for your child. Anytime you're told a story, ask for a piece of paper to back it up.
Anybody have any questions?
Yeah. My pleasure.
Save that in our retirement.
Everybody has a different situation. Everybody has a different situation. For me, I was too afraid not to talk out. What I mean by that is this. You ever see something bad about to happen, and you get those butterflies in your stomach, and you say, I can't just stand here.
Right.
That's what happened to me. I was in the car heading out to a BOCES meeting in Riverhead. I lived in Farmingdale for 25 years. That whole area we used to call East Jesus, that's how far away. But I'm heading out to Riverhead for a BOCES meeting. The commissioner comes on the radio and he's talking about releasing the scores. And he said, this is what we expected, and it's, it's fine, and all the rest of this. And it was going to show the college and career readiness of our students. And I couldn't get my head around how I was going to tell a third grader that they were on college material. See, kids don't understand when something is not valid. Like even with these tests that they take beforehand, try to minimize them as much as possible. It's hard to say to them, don't worry about this test, it doesn't matter. They don't know that. Every test, they believe us, they trust us. So if the teacher gives me a test, I have to try hard. If I get homework, I have to try hard. They can't distinguish between this is a good test and this is a bad test. And now they have to. The notion that a child has to tell his teacher to opt out when a parent has sent in a note or call is wrong. It'd be like saying, well, I know your mother doesn't want you to eat this today because you have an allergy. But how about just having a little bit? What do you think? Well, maybe you should decide whether you're going to do your homework tonight. I know that mom wants you to do it, but I feel a little differently about those things. Maybe you tell me you don't want to do it. Nonsensical. Parents, you have that power. Nobody else does. There's nothing in the regulation allowing for opt-out. Now, think about what those words mean. It doesn't say you can't. It says there's nothing there. You as parents decide what happens with your children. We act in place of you when you're not there. That's what we're supposed to do. We don't act in place of you when you are there. So do what you need to do as parents. I'm not allowed to say you should opt out of this test. But I tell you, if I had children that age, they wouldn't be taking one of these tests. I also tell you, my grandchildren aren't taking these tests. My granddaughter is 10. My granddaughter is 10. She barely made it 2 in each of these things. But I had spoken to him during the summer. I said, don't worry about these things. They're stupid. Listen to Papa. Listen to Papa. Don't worry about it. Do what you have to do as parents.
I just wanted to ask Dr. Rella, what is the consensus you're at with other superintendents? Are their feelings the same as yours? Or
Some.
what is our superintendent saying to you?
He hasn't talked to you.
I don't see
You
him.
don't see him yet, do you?
I'm one of those Suffolk people. But even among my colleagues, it's different. There's a whole range of ideas. Not above board. It's been pretty quiet, I'll say. It's been pretty quiet. But I remember, this whole thing didn't, I'm not supposed to be here tonight. What happened was, after I heard this thing, I lost something major trip, a major circuit breaker trip. And I really started to think about what I had to do for my community, for the kids and the parents. I didn't know when they were releasing these things to the children.
Your community is very lucky to have you.
Well, I'm lucky to. I wrote a letter to our assemblyman and senator. We have two, a piece of each of 2 senators, and to the parents. And I just put them on our website. Just on a Thursday afternoon, we're closed on Fridays in the summer. That website, if that website got 10 hits over that weekend, it would have been a lot. So Friday, I went into the office because it's quiet, and the phone is ringing off the hook, and my iPhone's going bang, bang, which means that emails are coming, and I'm looking at these emails, and somebody from New Hampshire, Texas, thank you for speaking for us. I'm not speaking to you. What are you talking about? I don't know who you are. I'm yelling at the phone. And what happened was, somebody had these, and I was not a Facebooker at the time, and they were all over the place. So I called up our legislators, because they weren't even going to get these till Monday. And I didn't want them to think I had done this, and they understood. They said, no, we already seen it on Facebook. Great.
Commented about, students that are going to be hurt the most. And I work in a Rosie school as an aide. I have seen students throw desks over, take textbooks, throw them. My brain, I can't understand this, Ms. L. I just can't.
One size fits all doesn't work.
I just don't.
Every child is unique.
Crying, emotional damage done already is just unbelievable. What I've seen.
What I'm hearing from mental health professionals is that some of those effects are going to be lasting. That's what really disturbs me. At the end of the day, when this was just happening to adults, it was happening to adults. We could handle it, we didn't like it. But I have teachers that are outstanding, and they're being hurt by this because of what's happening to their children. They can't protect them. They're trying, and then they get a thing that says you're ineffective.
And the students saying to you, I'm dumb enough, how much more dumb do you want to make?
Right. And that's a problem.
I walked out, I had to step out of the classroom.
Yeah.
Okay, I am on board, I'm with you. But
Can you stand up?
I will, sure.
Thank you.
I'm looking to opt my children out, but there's got to be something else. I'll write the letters, but what else?
I got to tell you, our legislators have been very receptive to what's going on. Keep talking to them.
Right.
They're the leverage. In other words, we can't pass a law, they can.
Florida governor just,
Right.
he pulled out.
But the legislature had to say okay. Okay, the governor can't do anything by himself.
All right.
Now, our governor's has been silent the last few weeks, but he hasn't been silent before that. All right? And our legislature needs to hear from us. That's what America is. If you have a grievance, under the first Article 1 of the Bill of Rights says you can redress some grievances. You bring to, and who do you bring them to? Your legislators. So do that.
Do you see it changing? I'm a math teacher in 7th grade, and I'm sick, and you're right, at my own house, I'm watching my daughter cry. My daughter is a pretty bright kid. I can't even help with some of the stuff.
Right.
And I'm a math teacher.
Yep.
Do you see this changing?
Has to.
Because I see it wrong on so many levels.
It has to. In other words, every state that this has been rolled out in, it's been exactly the same. Kentucky gave the test in June 2012, the year before us. They were the first state to give the test. About a third of the kids passed. So somebody said, are you a conspiracy theorist? I said, wait a second. Conspiracies happen in secret. This is happening right in your face. Conspiracy? for is stop it. Stop it so we can look at it. Then have educators look at it. Not, you know, my mechanic is good at what he does. He wouldn't be good at this. All right? Bill Gates is good at computers. He's not so good at this. So to make educational decisions, you bring in educational professionals. And there are plenty of them. And if you live in New York, you believe you have the best ones in the world here, not just in the country. And we do. Have them look at it. Just what they're saying about it. The people who are brilliant at this. There's so much that needs to be redone with this. It's not developmentally appropriate for children, especially younger children. The way that and significantly, this is a major change in education. Huh? Not one of the standards has any research attached to it. Not one. Not one. So who decided this? Who decided it was the National Governors Association, which sounds like a governmental organization. It's a private company, for-profit, that owns the copyright on the Common Core. What a surprise. Pearson?
Pearson's only one. You said it has to. Okay, my mom was an educator, guidance counselor, politics, she would be principal because you signed this kid getting suspended instead of me, blah, blah, blah. As a principal, they want to put their name on paper, their numbers to go up, our numbers to go down. So my brother's an elite math teacher. They moved him 3 times in the city to put him with the math kids that travel and do the smart crap that I can't handle. And I'm his twin, believe it or not. So,
Switch places for me.
I'm in Merrick, he's in Belmore. We're 6 minutes from each other in traffic, 4 minutes straight, no life never happens in 6 minutes. And he had to come to my house to show my 7-year-old how to do math and teach my wife, who's a preschool teacher, given she's not a part of it, but that's what she does. She's great at it, she loves it. If you want, trust me, you want her. She can't sing, but she trusts. But if my brother, who was in junior high, that they brought him into junior high, were like, you got to come with me to a principal that I knew before they were principal, and keep transferring to say they need you. Now that you got them going, now they need you. And he has to teach my 7-year-old, who we have her daughter, our friends, texting my wife, how did you put problem number 8? She texts my brother, he gets on freaking iPhone, whatever the hell damn thing is, and they have to do it together at 11 o'clock at night. So what do you mean it has to? What is the, I have another question. Okay.
Give you only answer to once, good.
What is the average of programs that don't work? How long are they teaching these programs before they fizzle down to us, those who legislate? I look at the room, there's what, 110 people? Let's have a small wedding. Okay, but I'm American. I say 2 of my American people here. You guys are Levittown, so I was 11, but it's a Levittown community. But I try to get our friends to come, and we're too busy, blah, blah, blah. But what's after opting out? I hear nothing past that. So maybe it's only 2 years and we'll get there. But what's after that?
I really believe that, at least my impression is, that the opt-out movement is so huge across New York State right now, and that's based upon seeing all of these different sites from all over the state with tens of thousands of people signed up. I think that's going to change things. I grew up during as a teenager during the Vietnam War. There were a lot of posters and signs about it. And one that always stuck in my head was, what if you gave a war and nobody showed up? What if you gave a test and nobody showed up? The other thing that happened here is, never underestimate this, I certainly don't. They have angered, especially the mothers across the state.
My question is, along with opting out, how do we get science, social studies, history back into the classroom?
It's not happening right now. We do the best we can. But I got to tell you, because if you can, I can't imagine a system that's crazier than what's going on right now. No one's ever seen this before. All right, so I can't say, well, 20 years ago it happened. It's never happened. It's never happened. All right, we've had other curricula, we have other methods, and they come and go. But teachers have always had the freedom. Academic freedom is something we value. They've had the freedom to teach. This is making it much more difficult. In some places, they're reading the script. Where I am, teachers can use this, but the commissioner now is taking the position, you don't have to use these modules, the curriculum. You don't have to do that. You can do whatever you want. That's what the tests are based on. We're also buying these from BOCES.
Right.
So we don't have to use them. It's like they just showed up. What else would you like us to use? You didn't give us the time. Had they given us the time, had given teachers the time, they would have digested this and come up with a good curriculum. I believe that's what's happened in the past. But we still don't have all of the pieces. You have the standards, and then you have these modules. And that's really the curriculum, it's the how-to. So if there's 5 modules roughly per subject of grade level 3 through 8, we have 4. With the math in high school, I think we have half of them at this point. They're taking a test in here. So you don't even have the full curriculum. You have to give teachers adequate time to digest it, to write about it, work together on it. That's a normal process. And then give them adequate time to prepare the students. I mean, everybody here take a test in their lifetime? You taking Regis test? I didn't have a nervous breakdown for Regis test. You didn't. Sometimes I worry about what my mother was going to do to me, but that was about the worst thing that was going to happen to me. It wasn't going to be, I got to go see a shrink now. I wasn't hurting myself because of Regis test. I knew if I knew it, if I did, I had to study more. If I had to go to summer school, I went. It was a test. It was a normal part of school. That's what tests have always been. And teachers use tests all the time. They want to find out if the kids understood what they taught. If they didn't, they teach it over again. We didn't get that, guys. When I was teaching, I thought I had the best lesson in the world. You see the kids' eyes glazing over, most falling out of the chair. I probably figured out, I wanted to push on, but I figured out by halfway through the class, maybe I should stop and take a little time out. I said, I'll be back again tomorrow. I want you to know that. I'm going to try this again. But now, do me a favor tomorrow. If you're not getting it at the beginning, start making some noise. That's what you adjust. It's an art. It's an art.
In your English class, because at Back to School Night, they explained to us that in 9th grade, some of the things they'll be reading in their English class is science text, because they figure if they get exposed to the science text more often, they'll understand it more. So if you were the kid who science was your subject, that's great for you. But if you're the kid where English was your subject, now they just made English as all boring as hell. So now it's not going to be your subject.
And we're sacrificing good literature for reading shop manuals.
Or a 4th grader who is only good at math, and now they just decided, hey, you suck at English? We're going to give you a reason pass. You're going to find the question within the question. You can make the answer.
Crazy. And it's a difference between reading science and doing science. And we want them to do it. And we want them to discover it. The answer's there already. Nothing better than watching their faces when they discover something. Even if it's the wrong answer, they discovered something. You know what I'm saying?
And can I just say that that's the whole part of this gentleman's question. What happens after you refuse? Here's what happens when you refuse. You starve them of the data. And that becomes the data to rank your children. That becomes the data to rank your teachers. And when they can no longer do that, when they're starved of that data, my question to you is, what do they do then?
Well, is there any way to push it one step even forward, like a little tweak, like somebody added something to a bill that somebody they signed and they like crap that was on there?
Listen, there is a bill right now in
Is
the
there any way to
Assembly.
say, if a teacher does not follow the parent that obviously give a letter ahead of time, if the teacher even says to the child, and the child comes home and says, they asked me about it, and I didn't want to in front of the whole class, so I said, I'll take it, even though you told me not to. Is the teacher held liable? Just not saying that the teacher should advocate the opt-out, that if the teacher even asks the student, because obviously my wife says in the text, don't forget the baloney, and I'll forget it. She says, I told you, what do I have to tell you?
I'm going to say this though. I think you got to go to your superintendent and find out what the policy.
Right.
Don't put the teacher on it.
Is that a count